In today's video, we will be recording with VinlanD Raganr. We had an awesome conversation about the final war in One Piece and everyone that'll be involved and how they'll be involved. But before we get into the video, just something very quick. You guys are missing out on so much great content over on Twitch. I stream there every day and have awesome One Piece conversations that I even include the fans on. Make sure you click in that pinned comment and in the description. Make sure you hit the Twitch link and follow me over there, as well as turn on notifications. Also, make sure you like the video, and if you want more One Piece content like this, make sure you subscribe and turn on those post notifications. Let's get into the video. Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Synsei Inc. And today we have a very special guest with us today, man. We got VinlanD Raganr. What's going on, bro?
Yeah, what's good? What's good? Shout out to all my Valhalla boys watching right now. It's great to be on Synsei's channel. Appreciate you for having me on, and I'm excited.
Of course, man. Of course, we've collabed before, but it was in a group setting. So now we got a one-on-one collab going. So I'm excited to pick your brain about a couple different things. And something interesting that you brought up to me that this video will be about is the final war in One Piece. Now, you messaged me, we were talking about setting up the collab and stuff like that, and you said you're really interested in talking about it. And I also have, some interesting takes on how I think the final war could play out and go. But I guess my initial question is, and you kind of started talking about this a little bit before I hit record, but how could you really see things going? Like, what's your mindset overall about the final war in One Piece?
Like we were just talking about earlier, I think that every One Piece fan has their own director's cut or vision that they approach, the ending with. They all have something that they want to happen, right, for the final war. And I think that the final war is going to happen after Laugh Tale, obviously. And that initial fight, right, we're going to be like, oh man, Blackbeard versus Luffy, that was epic. But what comes after that is going to be on a whole nother level. And we're in Wano right now, right? You look at the animation we were talking about Sin earlier, everything going on, that's going to be crazy. I guarantee you Oda's going to up that with, to a degree, maybe not so much as a war, but just in terms of the stakes that are involved, however he's going to go about it between Shanks, Blackbeard, and however Luffy's involved. I feel like Blackbeard, the consensus for most people is Blackbeard has to challenge Luffy for Laugh Tale. Even if Blackbeard gets there first, that's not necessarily, again, as Whitebird said when, Luffy was being carried off, about the person that's going to, the person Roger is waiting for, right? The person that's going to inherit the will of generations. The thing he said about their flames never dying. And so even though Blackbeard gets there first, it doesn't mean that he's won, right? It doesn't mean that he's the person. It's not a race to Laugh Tale, right? It's not even really a challenge. Like, okay, you got there first. For Luffy, it's like, he'll probably just laugh, right? He won anyways, right? Because for him, it was the journey, the adventure. And so if your goal is to crush his spirit because you beat him there first, it's not going to happen. And so they're probably going to fight over it. Now, maybe whatever Shanks ends up telling Luffy, whatever ends up happening, they're definitely going to battle over the title to decide who gets it, even if Blackbeard touches ground first. So it's irrelevant who gets there first. But after their fight, because it's a whole different discussion, I'm sure you have with somebody else, I think that you're going to find the true history, right? And it's going to be a decision for Oda as to whether or not he wants to reveal it. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, bro, you're trying to tell us now that Oda, after all this time, right, 20 plus years, he's still not going to reveal the true history. Now, there are two different options. I think that Oda could decide if he wanted to share that in there. But I also do believe that he could hold it off and say, similar to Vivi, as I was mentioning earlier, he might want Robin to share the true history with the whole world, right? Similar to people from the past when they would discover things that have been destroyed, like, oh, destroy religious monuments, destroy this or that. We don't want anyone to know what happened. When you uncover relics of the past, you want to share them with the world, right? That's the definition of archaeology. And Robin, being engaged as a historian and in some ways an archaeologist, you could call it, I guess, she's going to want to not just keep history to herself like, Rayleigh and the rest of them did. She's going to want to, in a similar fashion to Vivi, I think, share this information with the entire world. And the Kingdom Monkey D. Dragon saying, let everybody find their own answer. She's going to want people to make up their own minds. We can't keep on being afraid of history. And this is something, right? Like, you talk about the final journey. I know this discussion, we're talking about the final war, Synsei, but I think those two things are very similar, right? In terms of asking what each Straw Hat is going to do. For a while, we're asking, why is Wano so important to Zoro, right? Like, when is he going to get his own arc? Sanji just got his with Whole Cake. Now we're beginning to see it with Zoro, what happened with Kaido. What might happen if he fights King. We still need to learn about his past. We still need to see him revisit Ryuma's grave. There's still so much more that can make Wano feel like, okay, yeah, this was really Zoro's arc aside from Luffy and everything else going on. And sure, some stuff might happen after Wano we don't know about that could relate to Zoro, who knows? But for now, it is Wano. A lot of people believe that Nami is going to have an important role on the way to Laugh Tale as a navigator. someone that charted the journey from East Blue all the way to, from Paradise all the way to the Grand Line, and now to the New World, to the very edges or the end of the New World, and wherever Laugh Tale is. So yeah, Nami should be the one to have a major role. Whatever's revealed, we can't really get into that because we don't have enough information, but to really get showcased on that final journey, it's going to be arduous. I feel like it's going to be still challenging. We don't know what it really takes to get, forget, God Valley and Lodestar or all the other places, like to get all the way to the very end. And then we have the stuff with Usopp and the predictions about him taking care of Luffy because he's gonna fall sick or ill, whatever. And everything else is going to go on, right? And we think the Elbaf will be for Usopp. So all that stuff has to come into play. I don't really know where Brook's going to fall in. I think that at the very end game, I know that Arthur and others said that he's going to be the one playing the music for that, final party. Whether that happens before the final war or after, I think it's best if it happens after the final war. That's kind of traditional, kind of like with Wano, wherein Luffy said, we're going to wait.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Just like in the recent anime episode, we're going to wait until
an episode.
Yes, so I think
Fire,
that after the final war, there'll be a party or whatever, and then we'll see what happens with Luffy. I know that, Totally Not Market dropped a video. I kind of didn't watch all of it. I kind of just like scrolled to the end to hear his end thoughts. But I think that I do like the idea.
You be putting out them long bangers, bro. I don't be having enough time to watch the whole joint.
I don't have enough time either. So yeah, I went to the very end, and then he kind of says something about checkered fate and how we should flip the script. Everything is inverted. He said, but I kind of like the idea of, and how Luffy shouldn't die, and how the adventure should continue. I kind of like that because that would make sense for outer space, and it still fits the theme of a never-ending story. Roger had to die to pass on the hat. Shanks, I think he's got to die, but I know you're going to talk about that with somebody else, maybe. And, the hat's passed down. But Luffy, if he finds another way to continue the journey and leave the hat behind, that can still work. But all these characters having something to do before the end game that will take us there, and then maybe even after. Most of the Straw Hats will be leading up to that final point. But I think that, I just mentioned with Brook, playing music during the final party, the very reason why Luffy wanted a musician on the crew. That's going to be a beautiful scene. Brook's role finished. Obviously, Brook has his own dream. We're not really talking about dreams here, but, things that these guys got to do, which is why Luffy brought them on the crew. Luffy's appreciative of their dreams. I'm sure he's supportive of it, but there are things that he needs them for on the crew that, deviate from the dreams to an extent. And so with Robin, right? That's like her dream about the true history and all that stuff, and living up, the inherited will of the people of Ohara. What would they want to do? They wanted the world to know the name of this ancient kingdom. They wanted all this stuff to get out there, right? We need to get past the point in which people are being killed by the world government for simply wanting to learn the truth, because knowledge, One Piece is a story about dreams, right? Inherited will, as well as freedom. I often think it's beautiful because, when you see Monkey D. Dragon remembering Roger's words as he died, it kind of spoke to the central themes of One Piece, right? If I can remember it, they talk about inherited will, the dreams of an age, and inherited will, about freedom, I think, and the dreams of its people. Forget, I might be wrong about it. They can check me in the chat. Or in the comment section. But that's kind of the idea of One Piece. And when you think about it, Sen, and you can disagree with me if you want, I think that the pursuit of knowledge is critical to being free. The right to learn what you want, to have the freedom to speak and say whatever you want, right? Without fear of repercussion. I think that that's essential to a free society. The freedom to believe in what you want, to do what you want. All those things I think Luffy would be supportive of. And I think that people of Ohara in a way represent intellectual freedom, right? And they were destroyed for it, basically genocide. And so I think that Robin, to fully honor them, can't keep that information to herself. That doesn't make any sense, right? She needs to share that with the world. And so that's going to happen at the very end. So between that point in time, how is Robin going to do that, right? Is she just going to go out there and share it? They're going to be targeted, first of all, after Laugh Tale. You look at what happened when Roger discovered Laugh Tale. That is when he became the Pirate King, right? And he found out the One Piece, whatever it was. Yeah. As soon as that happens, Luffy is going to be anointed the Pirate King. Imagine that chapter, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Oda loves parallels, and so when that happens, we're gonna have similar panels. Are going to be designed differently, but Luffy's going to be finally declared the Pirate King has returned. The Pirate King's reborn. Kind of just hinting at that, even though it's not necessarily a resurrection by the world government. They're going to be in panic mode. The Great War is already beginning. They're making moves. They're trying to cleanse people. They're trying to stop this from happening, but it's going to fail, obviously. And Luffy's going to become the most wanted man in the world as well, right? Surpassing his father, surpassing all the Yonko and all else that tried before. Luffy already declared the war. They don't realize that. Like Luffy declared war back in Eddie's lobby. He says, "Bro, y'all are late. I already declared war, right?" That was all the way back during Eddie's lobby when he shot the flag. And so he's been ready for this moment. He knows what kind of sacrifice it's going to take. But this time he's going to have a whole army behind him. All the islands we visited, and this is going to get in my director's cut right now, right after Laugh Tale. You know those in those movies, Sin, like think of Lord of the Rings or all those other films where they say, rally the banners. Right? Like imagine that moment. Rally the banners, bro. And they're gonna have all the ships pulling up, right? Answering the call of the Pirate King Luffy.
Yeah.
Right?
By this point, his grand fleet is gonna be insane.
It's gonna be massive. It's gonna be Wano. It's gonna be the Minx from Zoe.
I'm under the assumption that he's gonna recruit the Giants too. I don't know if you also agree with that, but I think that.
Oh, bro, that's a great. That'd be actually a great discussion. But I think that, so let's just talk about that real briefly. Talking about him amassing his grand fleet, rallying the banners. He's going to have the samurai, right? Probably the second strongest military force, right? In terms of islands around the world, setting the Marines aside, or the third strongest. He's going to have, the fishermen, the fishermen warriors, the sun pirates. He's going to have the strongest army in the world, the giants of Elbaf. He's going to have all these people. He's probably going to have Katakuri pulling up. If Joy Boy's theories, comes true about the Big Mom pirates.
Yeah, for sure.
What happens to Big Mom? He's gonna have all these people pulling up to his side, right? Allied captains, Law. I don't know about Kid. We'll see what happens with him, whatever his true purpose is. If Law's still alive, right? A lot of people thought he would die against Kaido, but I don't know if it's gonna happen anymore.
I don't either.
Yeah, so he's gonna have the Heart Pirates, maybe. And we'll see what happens against Imusama, because that's, I think, is more key. Him going up to Mary Joie. And I think a lot of people now believe that Mary Joie should be that's the thing. We still have to talk about Sabo, right? And him being rescued. So I don't know if they would go to Mary Joie first. And that's the thing about having a director's vision is, where is the final war going to take place? Is it going to take place at the Red Line, at Mary Joie, or somewhere else? Is the final war going to take place right at Laugh Tale? Like, are they going to try and, even though Blackbeard and Luffy are going to head there, is the world government going to head there as well to try and stop them? They're just gonna let them go.
I always had this vision of the Straw Hats and the Grand Fleet trying to pretty much infiltrate Mary Joie. That's how I always pictured it. I always pictured them going at some point head to head with them, going directly there, because I feel like there's still a lot about Mary Joie we don't know, and I feel like there's going to be something of relevance with Mary Joie to the story as far as lore goes, especially with Imusama and his whole little inner sanctuary, the throne, the giant straw hat. Like, there's so much stuff there to kind of be touched on. I feel like it has to be touched on at some point again.
And the other thing is, because Sabo was recently, something's alleged to have happened. It hints more so in the anime at what might have happened, right?
Yeah, but for sure.
It makes you wonder, would the Straw Hats go there immediately after Wano, or should they go to Elbaf? I think they should maybe go to Elbaf, but maybe Blackbeard meets up with Shanks at Elbaf. I don't know which direction Oda's going to take it, because you feel like Luffy would feel compelled if he found out to go to Mary Joie. But then he has his father Dragon to handle that. And would Dragon go there and in the midst of trying to protect Luffy, right? And not Luffy, Sabo, or free him if something's happened to him, would Dragon end up losing his life? Because I feel like either one, Dragon or Shanks, should meet Luffy. I don't know who. I personally think it makes more sense for Dragon to meet his son, right? And to tell him stuff or whatever, than it is for Shanks. But I find it hard to believe that both of them will meet. But that's, I guess, another discussion. But it really does depend on whether or not you think that they're going to go to Mary Joie immediately. And if they do go there, would Oda really take us back there for the final war? Right? Would he really take us back to Mary Joie again to the same? Exactly, right? So where would the final war take place? And so for me, it's either going to take place at Laugh Tale trying to stop them from getting there, or at Mary Joie, unless Laugh Tale reveals something, another location afterwards, where else they're supposed to go or something. But for me, Mary Joie just feels like the best location. Why? We just learned about the sun god Nika, and I feel like, I talked about Joy Boy about this in the DMs, is really setting up the end game, right? Wherein we're fully seeing, and I actually have a script in the works about it titled, Luffy surpassing his father Dragon, right? I already made a video about them reuniting, and something that's kind of hinted at in chapter 1, if people want to go back and look at it, wherein in chapter 1, we're introduced to a lot of things and a lot of things on the low. And as we're now seeing, some of those things relate to what's going on right now, right? With the devil fruit and Shanks and who's who and the world government, things that were under the surface. But Oda's been planning since chapter 1 is crazy. But there's this thing that happens, and since you can go back and look at it if you want to, I don't know if you have another tab open, but in chapter 1, on the very first page, you see the narrator's words, right? And I mentioned in the video about the reunion between Luffy and his father dragon that the east wind is blowing. I can't remember my script exactly what I described, but there's a scene later on during Impel Down where Ivankov remembers Monkey D. Dragon and asks him, why are you always looking in a certain direction, wherever the wind blows, right? And it's just interesting because it hints that, Dragon, because he might have a wind devil fruit and he might be able to travel or however he can use his wind power, right, to sense or to see or to feel or to be present, combine it with hockey, whatever's going on in a certain area. Kind of like people think that Mihawk can look, and how Mihawk found Shanks, right? He can probably see people islands away. His vision is incredible, right? People like to allude to that, kind of like a Hawk's vision, Hawkeye. It'd just be interesting if Monkey D. Dragon had the ability that wherever his wind goes, right? His wind, like apparently people are saying that even though Dragon wasn't at Mary Joie, his devil fruit is so overpowered. He's mastered it to such a degree, maybe he's awakened, that his devil fruit could reach Mary Joie, even if he might not have been there. Right, like during the anime, I think
that
you see a bunch of wind blowing.
That could kind of correlate.
And so my thought is that from chapter 1, Monkey D. Dragon was already watching over Luffy, already reunited with him, right? Because he's been watching over his son all this time. The connection between Shanks and Dragon will be interesting to find out as well. I don't know if I would really find that out, but I find it hard to believe they don't have some knowledge of each other. But the chapter 1 begins with a wind blowing, and later on we find out that whenever the wind blows, Shanks is looking in that, or Dragon is looking in that direction. And so I do feel like Dragon has always been watching over his son. Yeah, and so maybe there isn't a need for them to reunite per se, but I would like for that to happen. But in terms of just the final war, I do feel like Mary Joie should be the place for it. I don't know how it's going to work in terms of like Oda waiting that long then to rescue Sabo. If Sabo gets rescued and Dragon gets captured instead, I don't know what's going to take place. But setting Dragon and them aside just so we can focus on the battle itself. The banners being rallied, all the people showing up, the pirate ship showing up to the red line. I think revolutionaries and good Marines have to flip on the government. I know that Benze or Mugiwara Matt B had mentioned this as an old theory of his, against, the people that want to side with Imusama and whatever unrevealed villains are out there. I'm seeing some crazy stuff out there saying lately about how Imu might be an alien. How there's a whole other race of like evil race of people out there, of dark aliens, all kinds of stuff, crazy stuff that I don't know if it's true, and I don't know if it's like somebody's just headcanon or whatever, but it's interesting to think about. A whole force of the whole race of people on the planet have been conquered, and the history's been rewritten, and people have been subjugated to forget what really took place because kind of like with the Matrix, right? Wherein a lot of people are living lies and they don't really know that they've been conquered by artificial intelligence and machines, right? It's a similar sense of like, you guys don't realize how the world came to be and what's really going on. That's what somebody's idea was put out there, and it kind of blew up on Twitter somewhere. But you mentioned them trying to infiltrate. I actually had the same idea, them trying to infiltrate Mary Joie. I feel like the sea battle will be taking place, right? Just in my own vision. Obviously, all the Straw Hats, for the most part, are going to try and get onto the island, right? Not the island, but the red line, to climb the red line. That's the other thing, right? How are they going to get to the top? I don't know. I mean, it shouldn't be that hard, right, for them to get up there, but there's got to be a way for them to climb the red line. That's one thing we got to consider. But everybody else is going to be down there while the main forces get inside. And then we got to deal with who the opponents are going to be, right? We got Im-sama. We don't really know if the Gorosei are all going to be opponents, but I feel like maybe they should be, because who else are we going to fight? For me personally, just as a subjective reader, right, observing art, I think that certain elements do advocate for One Piece to a degree being a coming of age story.
I feel like Katakuri falling also is just like a depiction of how powerful and how moving Luffy is as a person. Mm-hmm. Like he is, in my opinion, someone that is unwavering.
So many different, signs out there that show that Luffy is like Shanks in so many ways, but also his own person.
And Jaya, Jaya is one of my favorite moments, like that I really looked at, and it was just like, it's literally the bandit and Grog scene from the first chapter.